tonight we're going to be discussing parental alienation syndrome with a family law consultant who deals specifically with parental alienation syndrome. Joe Goldberg is the founder and principal of Goldberg and Associates, and his firm consults and assists family law attorneys and targeted parents needing medical legal consulting services related to parental alienation syndrome. Now, for those of you who don't know what parental alienation syndrome is, after you've gone through a divorce, sometimes the children start exhibiting resentments towards what is called the targeted parent. And parental alienation syndrome actually has 8 symptoms. You may notice that the children suddenly seem consumed with hatred towards you or the targeted parent. You may notice that the children have weak or frivolous rationalizations for why they are suddenly taking on this crusade against you. You may notice that when discussing the other parent, it seems as though that child can find nothing wrong with them, although they have focused all their hatred and anger towards you. You may notice that suddenly this child is giving reasons as to why they are coming to this decision that you are a bad parent completely on their own, and they have this sort of what they call the independent thinker phenomenon, that these kids are suddenly claiming that they have complete control over their ideas about you as a parent. And there are others. And many of the parents and the fathers, especially on our site, DadsDivorce, find this puzzling. Why did they had a great relationship with their kids before the divorce, and now suddenly they're faced with a child that refuses to talk to them, or a child that when they are speaking to this child or in the company of this child is lashing out at them. And they may have heard about parental alienation syndrome, and they might want to know a little bit more. So tonight's guest, Joe Goldberg, is here to discuss this a little bit with us and to enlighten us a little bit as to what parental alienation syndrome is, how it may affect us, and what can be done about it. Joe, welcome.
Thank you, Rick.
To start off, could you tell us a little bit? I guess we could. Let me start with a definition of parental alienation syndrome. It is defined as a disorder that arises primarily in the context of child custody disputes, and its primary manifestation is the child's campaign of denigration against a parent, and it's a campaign that has no justification, and it results from a combination of programming or brainwashing from one parent indoctrinating that child into making his own contributions to the vilification of the target parent. Could you tell us a little bit about parental alienation syndrome?
Well, parental alienation syndrome is a subcategory of parental alienation, and it specifically results from a combination of the parental programming or the brainwashing of a parent that induces the alienation and the child's own contributions.
So now, is this a medical disorder?
It is not listed in the DSM. It doesn't have the label that most psychological and psychiatric conditions have, but it also takes time for many conditions to be labeled in the DSM. For example, post-traumatic stress disorder and Tourette's syndrome, to name just a few, took many years. I think Tourette's took almost 100 years before it got into the DSM. And post-traumatic stress disorder also took a number of decades before it was labeled as a psychiatric condition.
Right.
So the doctor that originally framed the term parental alienation syndrome, Dr. Richard Gardner, had many discussions and debates about the validity of the syndrome. And I think one of his best counterpoints was, before the word tree was written into the dictionary, did that mean that a tree did not exist? So I would say just because something is not presently defined in a book doesn't mean that it's not a real psychological condition.
Well, on DadsDivorce.com, we get quite a bit of, in our forums, in our Ask a Lawyer questions, and just in our emails that we receive from primarily fathers, but also some mothers. We receive quite a bit of email and other questions about this. So there's definitely a lot of people out there who feel that they are undergoing this the effects of this syndrome. And how could you? I guess what we want to know is when you get called in to consult, what is the situation like? Who's calling you in? Are you being called into to the courtroom? And how is it that the alarm bell is being rung, and that someone like yourself, a consultant, is being pulled into the proceedings?
Well, I have been invited to talk to many family law attorneys and judges at conferences about the topic of parental alienation and parental alienation syndrome. I have a practice to help targeted parents who seem to find me when they discover that they have a problem with their children, and they discover that the problem can be understood as an issue that involves alienation. A lot of people go online and they will Google the word alienation and come up with all kinds of information that leads to my website. Sometimes a family law attorney that knows me, or a mental health professional, or a mediator that knows me will tell a client about the work that I do, and many people have heard about me personally because of the conference that I am the founder of for Parental Alienation Syndrome up here in Toronto. It's the largest organized conference on the topic of parental alienation syndrome that's ever been put together. It's going to be held at the Metro Toronto Convention Center on March 27th through March 29th. For anyone who's interested in coming, almost every single leading expert in the world will be speaking at this conference over those 3 days. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity for people to get great insight into solutions for dealing with the problem of parental alienation syndrome. And it is primarily an educational symposium that also will be providing continuing educational credits for family law attorneys, for mental health professionals, and family law mediators. So people find me through the internet, they hear about me through other professionals that know of me, and the conference.
Right. Okay. And we are going to talk a little bit more about the conference. And while we're on the subject, the information can be found at www.cspas.ca, and that's information for the Canadian Symposium of Parental Alienation Syndrome. Is there a website out there that allows a targeted parent to find experts such as yourself?
Well, I think that there are certain blogs where there are a collection of professionals, such as Glenn Sachs, I believe, has a blog. and a website that helps